guys, welcome back to the ThunderCast, and we have a special standalone episode today. As you'll notice, KD is not here. It's me by myself, and I am doing the women's basketball preview. At the end of this episode, we're going to have Coach Juli Fulks come in with us. We've got some great questions about the differences and some things that are going to be the same from last year's team coming to this year's team. So we're going to get right into that. But before that, I have to tell you about 304carwreck.com, Leasure Oliver PLLC. They have been with us for before day one, really. They signed on and helped us get all this content out to you. I can't say enough about them. We say their commercial every single week. But I just want to tell you that if you have an auto accident or any kind of injury in the state of Kentucky, Ohio, or West Virginia, anywhere in the state, you can go to 304carwreck.com, 740carwreck.com, 606carwreck.com, any of those, and you can get Jason or Matt, and they can help you talk to these insurance companies so you don't have to do it yourself. Don't be a victim twice. Let 304 Car Wreck help you. I am going to read their tagline, though, and it's, if you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com. All right, so we're going to start off this women's basketball preview. We're coming off a Sun Belt championship in the regular season. We're coming off of a Sun Belt championship in the postseason. An amazing, just absolutely historic run. And then after that, Coach Caldwell leaves for Tennessee. We had some departures. We're going to talk about all that. And then we had an influx with Coach Fulks, and then with some players she brought in. So first, we're going to go over the roster breakdown and get you kind of familiar with this year's team. All right. So first, the departed players. Abby Beeman graduated. Brianna Campbell graduated. Tamia Lawhorn graduated. Sydney Scott transferred to Fairfield. Mahogany Matthews transferred within the Sun Belt Conference, and she's going to be at Georgia State this year. Tara Harness transferred to Buffalo, and also in conference, but not with us after the first, I think, 6 games of the year, is Rochella Scott. She transferred to JMU, so we are going to see Mahogany Matthews. We're going to see Rochella Scott a couple times each this year, and maybe again in the postseason for one or both of these. Lot of impact left. You may be thinking, wow, that's a lot of names. The stats, when I tell you what has departed, you're going to realize actually what we lost. I'm not going to even include Rochella Scott in this because, again, after the first 6 games, she wasn't in the lineup. She wasn't on the team. So we're not going to talk about her 21 points a game and what she did the year before. That won't be in any of this as far as these stats. Listen to what we lose. 51.2 points per game, 17.9 rebounds per game, 11.8 assists per game. Now, of that, both point guards that we had, Brianna Campbell and Abby Beeman, Sun Belt Conference Player of the Year, they averaged over 31 and near 10 and 10. So we are losing a lot, and we wonder about replacing that, which I talked to Coach Fulks later when she comes on. You'll hear what she had to say about that. So let's go over now the returning players. Aislinn Hayes, great that she entered the portal, decided to come back out. 5'8" guard. She's a senior. CeCe Mays saw a lot of time last year. High energy player, 5'8" guard. She's a junior. Meredith Mayer, wow, what did she do at the end of the year and stepped up when Mahogany Matthews had an injury, and she stepped into the starting lineup, and she just absolutely carried us in some games. 6 foot junior forward. Ashley Tudor, 5'11" guard. She's a senior. Ariana Redmond, 5'11", forward guard. She's a senior. Alasia Hayes, 5'8" guard, redshirt junior. Peyton Ilderton, 5'6", a guard, a junior. Olivia Ziolkowski, 6 foot forward junior. Jada Ali, 5'8", guard freshman or guard forward. She's a redshirt freshman. And last for returning is Timberland Yeast, 5'9", forward guard, redshirt freshman. Some of these players, it's going to be their third coach in 3 years. We also, we had the people graduated, but we had the people transfer. Some of these entered into the transfer portal, came back out. And, you start thinking, well, this is the third coach in 3 years. You can't blame people sometimes. Players, these are kids, these are college students, and they are now going to be on their third coach. They decided to stick through it. So not only does that show maybe their character and loyalty to Marshall, but also that they bought in after listening to Coach Fulks after she was hired. So I like to think that these players are going to be, whether they're a redshirt freshman or a redshirt junior, or we got a couple of seniors on here. I want to say that these are going to be key leadership positions, whether they're a captain or not, because they were here last year. They were here for the culture, and they chose to stay here at Marshall. And I think that that is going to be big. Coach Fulks, I was listening to the Paul Swan show, The Drive, and when he was going over some of her comments, she mentioned this, that these players that were here are helping her, the staff, the incoming players that we'll be talking about here in a minute, just help them understand how things operate here, the culture that we have here, what it means to be at Marshall. So love having these players back. Returning stats, we've got 37.4 points per game, 20 rebounds a game, and 5.3 assists per game. So you can tell that we're lacking in a little bit of the scoring and lacking in a little bit of the assists. You're going to have that, obviously, when your 2 point guards leave. But this is a good base. Having these returning, that's not bad stats, something to build off of. You also expect those returning players to contribute more, take a step up. They're a year further along into their college careers, and several of those are poised to take that next step. Now let's talk about some incoming players. Trey Chandra Williams, 6'2" forward. She's a junior, transfer from Columbia State. Blessing King, 5'10", guard, junior from Morehead State. Adiana Pacheco, 6'1", forward, junior from CCBC Essex Junior College. Maddie Kellyone, 5'6" guard, graduate transfer from Tennessee Tech. Leosha Marigny, 6'3" forward. She's a sophomore from Reedley College, another JUCO. And finally, Cassie Ingram, 5'11", guard, a freshman out of Pickerington Central High School. So the first thing that leaps off the page to me, besides that point guard, 5'6", Maddie Kellyone that we were talking about, we're going to have to replace the point guards. We have 6'2", 5'10", 6'1", 6'3", 5'11". A couple of those are guards. We're looking at 5'11" and 5'10" guards. Last year's team, height at times was a hindrance for us. It was hard when we were going up against a team that had somebody that was good in the post. We got out rebounded a lot. This should help a lot. And when we talk to Coach Fulks here in a little bit, she's going to tell us a little bit more about what she thinks about that. So that's your roster breakdown. And I know this is not a typical show with just me on here and not having KD, nobody to bounce back and forth. So let's just get right on into the schedule breakdown. And after that, we will introduce Coach Fulks and have more of a conversation back and forth on about what this season is. All right, we're going to start off with the out-of-conference schedule. I am not going to go through every game. I just want to say that we have 6 home games, 5 away games, and 2 of those away games are in Orlando as part of a multi-team event. We kick off the season at Toledo this Monday, November the 4th at 7 p.m. That'll be on ESPN+. And then after that, we've got 3 games at home. Then we travel to Orlando for that multi-team event. Then we come back home for Salem, and then we travel to Florida to face the Gators. They came here last year, and we beat them, if you remember. And then another back home, then to Cincinnati, still local in the area, and then we finish the out-of-conference at home with Davis and Elkins. So we have a start on the road and then a chance to really establish ourselves at home, try to get some things in order before we go to that multi-team event. But we're going to be playing Penn State, Florida, and Cincinnati in our out-of-conference schedule. If we can come up with a couple of wins, that would be amazing. But no matter what, that should help our strength of schedule as well for possible seeding in the postseason. Conference schedule, we have pretty much by the end of the year, 12/29 against Texas State. That is the first conference game. After that, everything is in January and February. After that home game with Texas State, we have 4 games on the road, 4 games at home, 3 on the road, 3 at home, 2 on the road, 2 at home. So back and forth, it's going to be a big road swing and then a big homestand and vice versa going back and forth. But that will help us out when we have 4 games at home. That's going to help tremendously. We've seen that time and time again with the men's team, with the women's team, get you a little bit of rest. You don't have to travel and things like that. Those road swings can be tough. So we end up with 10 home games and 9 away games for the conference schedule. One of those games, which is why we have an extra home game, is we're going to face a MAC opponent, and that will be Saturday, February the 8th at 1 p.m., part of the Sunbelt MAC Challenge. And we don't know who that is, but they are going to kind of seed us with RPI and give us someone that is roughly equal to our standing in the Sun Belt with them in the MAC. So what's that give us? That gives us 16 home games total. 30 games, 16 at home. Let's talk about tickets real quick. I'm going to talk about this with Coach Fulks later, but season tickets are available for $75 per seat in the lower bowl. That is reserved seating. Do the math, 16 games, it's only $4.69 a game. Don't like that? You can sit in the corner, the lower bowls, but in the corners. $30 per seat if you get a family 4-pack. You and 3 friends, you and 3 others from your family, whatever it is, for $120 you can get 4 seats, $30 per seat for the entire season. They are still reserved. It's not first come, first serve. It's not sit wherever you want. They're in the corner. You can pick your seats out. Per game, that is $1.88 per game per seat. We said all last year for that $5 games that you could get in that it was the best deal in Huntington. You're not going to be able to beat $1.88. I urge everybody on here to get season tickets, and you can do that at Herdzone. You can walk over to the ticket office inside City National Bank on 20th Street, 3rd Avenue. You can call 1-800-THE-HERD. You can do it online. Whatever it is that you do, you must be a Big Green member. You can do that for as little as $5 a month. We say that all the time on here. And if you're not a Big Green member right now, I urge you to do that. Go to mubiggreen.org or call the ticket office, call whoever. They can help you out with that. All right, before I bring Coach Fulks on here, I did have some questions here about this team. I feel these are big questions. Coach Fulks addressed some of these, but I just want to give them to you without an answer and let you at home think about these and what your thoughts are. Chime in with comments on this video. You can hit us up on Facebook. You can hit us up on Twitter. Tell us what you think. Number one, what will this team look like offensively, defensively, and in transition? We saw glimpses of last year's team during the fans' first game this past weekend. A smothering full court press. They had fast breaks. They had 29 points in the first quarter. We also saw less three-pointers attempted. They had roughly 33% of their attempts were from behind the arc. Last year, close to 45% behind the arc out of their attempts were three-pointers. So what's this team going to look like? I asked Coach Fulks that. She'll tell you a little bit about that in a little bit. Number two, who replaces 51.2 points per game, 17.9 rebounds per game, and 11.8 assists per game that are gone from last year's team? It's not going to be easy. We brought in several, but, will someone step up from last year's team that as a returning player? Will it be people sliding right into those roles that are brand new to the team and are expected to start? Will it be a combination? We just don't know where that's going to come from. Number three, how long will it take the team to gel with a new point guard and at least two new starters? And number four, where will this team finish in year one of the Coach Juli Fulks era? All right, that is our very quick, very weird, with only one person here and nobody to talk to and bounce things off of, kind of preview of what we might expect to see this year. Before I get Coach Fulks in here, I do want to come up with a kind of an official prediction. This is from me, not from KD. He may give one later on social media or during a future episode, but I kind of see us finishing around 18-12, 13-6 in conference, making a run in the conference tournament and being a dangerous team in that conference tournament. But it's a lot to replace. It's just new, different. How's it going to work out? So that's the way I see it. And right here on the other side of this break, we are going to have Coach Juli Fulks answering some of these questions and a lot more, telling us what we may see this year. All right, as advertised, as I said earlier in the show, we're going to hear from Coach Juli Fulks herself. Here we have her. Welcome, Juli, to the ThunderCast.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you, Russ, having me on and to get to go on the ThunderCast and talk to our Marshall community and talk more about women's basketball.
Absolutely. We want to jump right into some questions, but if there's anything that you want to say to kind of introduce yourself to the Marshall fan base or anything, feel free to go ahead, give you all the time you want. And then I've got some questions here for you about this year's team.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. One of the things in the 6 months since we have taken the job and taken over the team, I think a reoccurring theme has been how wonderful the community has been. And I was told when we were taking the job, it was going to be a very welcoming place. And that has been absolutely one of the pieces that has been true. And, alongside the support for women's basketball. So this is my 21st year as being a head coach. I spent 10 years out on the West Coast and then 10 years at Transylvania University in Lexington, Kentucky. But I'm originally from Northwest Ohio. So this part of the country is home to me. And I actually remember that when I was in college, I played at a Division III in Ohio. We actually used to come down to West Virginia every year, our women's basketball team over fall break, and we would go whitewater rafting in the gorge. And so that actually was kind of one of the first times I ever drove through Huntington and down through the state of West Virginia when I was in college. So it's been great to be back in Huntington. We actually went and did the whitewater rafting a few weeks. Kind of felt like everything came, and thrilled to get the season started.
Yeah, and what a great time of the year to go up near Fayetteville and the gorge and everything with the changing of the leaves colors. Beautiful, beautiful state, beautiful area. But let's transition over here. You stole a little bit of my first question here, but there's plenty more that you can talk about. How has the move to Marshall and Huntington in particular matched up to your expectations so far?
Well, I think one of the perks was we didn't have to move very far. And I think anytime you're doing a big move, if it's only a couple hours away, that's obviously easier than going across the country, which I had done before. And, it was really interesting. I had a couple speaking engagements left in Lexington when fans who chose to come and wear green to the last couple kind of speaking things I had to do. And that I think has just been, another sign of the Marshall audience is obviously wide and, they are all over the tri-state area.
Mhm.
And so when we moved here, I'm very grateful. They immediately helped us with housing. Lots of people reached out to make sure, we had all of the things that we needed outside of, the job and basketball. And we live over by the park. So, right behind, President Smith's house. And I'm an outdoors person and I love getting out and running. And the weather is, as you know, has been amazing. And so the trees are turning right
Yeah.
now. And, these last couple of weeks, it just continues to stay. I mean, it's not very often that it's 75 degrees heading into the first week of the season.
Yeah.
And so we've been able to get outside and enjoy being in this part of the country on top of what we're doing in the office every day and getting after it on the court.
Well, and you come here and you inherit an SBC championship team, no pressure, right? And gone from that team, though, are some plenty of key players. How different will this team be from last year's squad? Missing those players, missing the coach, her style. Just tell us all about the differences we're going to see this year.
There's a big change anytime there's a coaching change, but then just with graduate, I've had a lot of similar players back at it as a, it's been fun to watch film of last year. We've watched the championship games and we watched, obviously the tournament and kind of all throughout the years. And it was culminating when, we got to send the rings out to the ones who couldn't be here and kind of reach out again to those alumni and talk to them and be a part of their ring ceremony. That was obviously a really special event for us to watch and, really an emotional moment for the returners who knew what it took to win championships. And at the end of the day, that's our job, is to come here and keep Marshall at the top of the Sun Belt. And that's something we're excited to do, but it will look different. Obviously anytime you're graduating the conference player of the year, she got that because she had a big impact on the floor and was able to do a lot of things. And so, sometimes you don't fill that void with just one person. You do it by committee. And I think we have a group of returners that are really strong and committed. And perhaps the thing that, carried over, not perhaps, I think it really did carry over, was, there is a winning mentality, and that starts with, out of practice workouts. And from the very beginning, it was clear this team had a really strong work ethic in terms of, outside time in the gym. And, they send us messages late at night, on early in the morning, and understand that, true success means a lot of extra time, and they've been willing to do it. And that's been great to watch and help build.
Yeah, and you mentioned conference player of the year, Abby Beeman, but we actually had the 2 point guards from last year, both graduated, both gone. They accounted for an average, 31.3 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, 9.9 assists per game. How rough is that going to be to replace those two? You've got to replace that production. And also, you got to have a point guard. Your top two are gone to kind of be that floor general and involve everyone in this machine.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. The numbers speak for themselves in terms of their success and what they were able to do. And, I think ultimately what you're trying to do on offense is always be efficient. And sometimes your efficiency comes from two players and sometimes it comes from 7 or 8. But my experience over all the years is, if we're able to hit certain target numbers in terms of, how many shots do we get up per possession? So what's our assist to turnover rate? If we're able to hit certain key notes in terms of these are our shooting percentages, you're going to be able to get over a point per possession. And so that's our challenge right now as a staff, is to make sure that our offense is kind of going on all cylinders, and that we're doing it in a way that gives you a chance to win games. And I've been proud. We had our first scrimmage and we were able to put up, in the mid 80s, and then the second exhibition game we were at 87. But more importantly, when we ran the numbers, we were over a point per possession efficiency. And I know for lots of years and doing all the analytics, that's the number you're looking at. And so obviously they played a huge part last year. But maybe it comes from a couple players this year, or maybe we kind of hit those same numbers through 6 or 7 players. But I think all good offense starts with having an understanding of how do they score and how can they do it in a way that gives us a chance every game.
Yeah. You brought in quite a bit of height and length. Last year's team, there was only really one true post player, and she is gone now. She transferred. She also missed a lot of time last year with an injury. So it was kind of, at times, 5 guards, or a swing person forward and guards on the court. But you brought in, get this, guys, 6'3", 6'2", 6'1", 5'11", and 5'10". That has all been brought in. Last year, 6 foot was the tallest player we had on the team. How will this added height, length help transform the team into something that maybe fits more of your style, or transforms this team this year?
Yeah, I think it gives you more flexibility. There have been plenty of times, and even over our first couple scrimmages, where sometimes it's just easier to be bigger in terms of having players or teams that are attacking the rim, and maybe not as great from the 3-point line, and so you can use size to kind of hold down the fort on the inside when they're trying to get to the rim and make it really challenging to score. And then on the flip side, sometimes you need to be a little smaller and spread out the defense and be able to match up if the other team is kind of attacking more on the perimeter and doing some pick and pop type things. Both, I think, just have their advantages. And I think for us, the thing that we think it's going to let us do is be really adaptable on both ends. Size allows, some help sometimes in rebounding and on defense, where, if you're equally as fast and equally as athletic, if you're 4 inches taller, sometimes that can help you out. And so we wanted to make sure that we were bringing in players that gave us a lot of flexibility on both ends of the ball. And, if you're playing a team where everybody is 6'2", it's sometimes it's easier if you can have more size to match up.
Sure.
And especially if some of those 6 foot and 6'2" players are all guards that are really fast and athletic. And so I think we just felt like we wanted to balance out the pieces that we already had and make sure that when we play games, we looked at some of our opening games, and, Toledo has 3 very, dominant post players that have good size and strength. And I think this will help us match up. If we're not able to make the game fast, you've got to hopefully be able to match up and be able to match up on the inside. And so we're excited about that. They've had a great summer and fall. And I think our team has really worked hard on making sure that, they're gelling the pieces from last year with obviously the newcomers. And the portal has kind of changed everything for coaching changes, and players can obviously have a lot of flexibility when coaches change happen. So we were excited for the players who stayed, and then went out and thought we got the pieces that we needed to keep pushing on.
One of the things, I was there at the exhibition game on Sunday, and I had a little bit of flashbacks from last year, because first quarter, 29 points go up. Anyone that's good at math can times that by 4 and say it's pretty daggone good. We also saw at times a smothering press, which led to some fast breaks. And will we see a lot of that? And a slight follow-up question. Last year's team shot 46.5% of its attempts came from behind the arc.
Yeah.
What will we see that will be similar with pressing and putting up a bunch of points, and what may be different with that?
Yeah. Well, we always hope to put up a bunch of points. So the first 2 scrimmages for me, I thought that was a really good indication of our ability to score. But obviously it's early. I think sometimes, offenses get ahead of defenses, and sometimes defenses get ahead of offenses. And, you start to see it balance out in December and January, when whichever side the coach started with, that ends always ahead. And it balances out here in a couple months. But, I think we have a group that can shoot threes. And so, we will be putting up a lot of 3-point attempts. I don't think, That's always who I've been, and that's actually a really nice carryover from Coach Caldwell. That I think that'll happen, and it's a group that has pressed for a long time, and once you get those instincts, it's we're happy to keep using those instincts, and they're great at rotations, and so we have those in our back pocket, and I think game by game, depending on what we're seeing, we're more than happy to get up and create more energy and get everybody going. Sometimes I just like pressing at the beginning because the players always bring more energy, and you get a couple steals right away and get some easy scores. It sets the tone, and you have some options. But I think we have a deep bench that gives us options, and so we're going to do different things to take advantage of that, and that includes being able to go up and down and put some extra pressure on the ball.
I tell you, growing up, I've said it on this show all the time. My favorite basketball was full court press, up and down the court, lots of threes, lots of pressure. If nothing else, it was exciting. It got the fan base into it. The place got loud. The energy was there, and the momentum. Once you got going, it just seemed like you could do anything that you wanted. So I am excited to see some more of that pressing. So first year here, coming off a regular season Sun Belt championship, a Sun Belt championship in the postseason. Obviously, everyone would like to see that replicated, but what does success look like to you season one of the Juli Fulks era here at Marshall?
Yeah, I love that question because I think there's different levels of success. Obviously, there's the on-court success in winning Sun Belt championships, and we're doing everything we can for that to happen because, I think our student athletes always learn the most when they're chasing championships, because I think the best lesson you get is you cannot go after those large awards without putting in the time, energy, and effort that it takes. And, I think the best part of it is you have to do all of the extra without the unknown. And I think that's the best lesson they always get in life is I can do all this and it still might not happen, but it's guaranteed to happen if I don't do all this. And so having that sort of self-discipline, inner motivation, I think setting up a group of women that are really chasing championships helps set them up for the rest of their life. So that matters to us. And then the next piece that matters, and again, this was a really great carryover from Coach Caldwell, is you're setting a culture that values doing things the right way, that values the character within the team, that values the integrity of how we do things. And you're building a foundation that people want to be a part of and stay in. And I get to use basketball to help 15 women move their lives forward on the court, and they're future professionals and as leaders. And, the beauty is we use the basketball court to help us do that. And so I think there are just different avenues of the success. But at the end of the time, we want this group to have felt like they got the most out of their experience. They got the most out of their championships.
Yeah, good stuff. A lot of people focus only on the record for success or things. And we've talked about a myriad of coaches here at Marshall and the culture that they brought and the fact that they're just bringing in great human beings and putting great human beings out into the world. So kind of the unsung thing to a lot of the fan base is the impact that we have on putting sons and daughters of Marshall out there representing us after they graduate from here. So I always love to hear that. We talked about energy. We talked a little bit about the fan base there. What would a packed Cam Henderson Center with a raucous, loud crowd do for this team?
Well, there is no doubt the extra crowd, big noise, all of the fans, they bring an amazing energy to any basketball game that gives you a better chance to win. And, we appreciated, we've had so much support. Obviously, we had a lot of people at the exhibition game, but I always think it really is important that fans understand they do impact the outcome. And when you come into a gym where it's hard to hear, that is creating extra momentum for the team, you really do have a say in how the game goes. And so, we would love to have everybody come into the gym. Our job is to make sure it's a very fun and exciting atmosphere where that you come and have a great experience with your family, with your friends, sit around, meet new people. And I think having a packed Cam just helps us win. And it's kind of a momentum builder. The more you win, the more fans, the more fun. And so we're excited about starting that process and making sure that when everybody comes, they leave and thought, hey, that was really fun. And we love being a part of this.
Yeah. I talked about this earlier in the show before I had you on, but I'm going to push this again right here for the fans that are listening and watching at home. Season tickets are available for $75, reserve seating in the lower bowl. 16 games, that comes out to $4.69 a game. You can't go to the movies for that. You can't go out and eat for that, but you can come and get 2 hours worth of high energy Marshall entertainment for $4.69 a game to do that. So I'm encouraging all fans watching this, listening to this, share this around. $75. Go to Herdzone.com, call up 1-800-THE-HERD, walk over to the ticket office, whatever you have to do. $4.69 a game for a reserve seat in the lower bowl. If that sounds like something that you're like, well, I don't know, for $30, if there's 4 of you, so a family of 4, $30 per seat. That's $120 total for 4 seats. That works out to $1.88 per seat per game to come and watch the Marshall Thundering Herd and Coach Juli Fulks. I think that that's probably the best bargain in town.
Well, it's a great deal, and we happen to be loaded up on home games this year that makes it an even better deal. And so,
yeah,
we value the community being able to be at games and coming and helping and cheering us on. And, we were excited. The courtside seats sold out right away. And obviously lots of people have been buying season tickets, but, it's a great family atmosphere. You can, bring your kids, bring your parents, come with all of your friends. There's lots of things to do right around the arena. And so there, I agree, for 2 hours and, you're going to get 16 games. That's 32 hours of really good basketball. That'll be a lot of fun. And we hope to see everybody in the gym.
Yeah. Coach, before I let you go, I always do this. I'm an idiot. I always come up with a fun question, and it's usually the same one. I used to own an eatery restaurant in a bar downtown years ago, and we named things after Marshall players, Marshall coaches, that sort of thing. All right. You're coming in and someone has a menu and they say, hey, we need to name something after you. What would be the Juli Fulks on this menu?
It would definitely be a buffalo chicken sandwich with cheese, onions, a little bit of spice, probably a lot of ranch, and definitely comes with French fries on the side.
What kind of cheese? That's the biggest question I can ask in this entire thing. What kind of cheese?
Every time.
Pepper jack. There you go.
Pepper jack every single time.
I tell you, I would eat that. I would eat that sandwich. Of course, I would eat any sandwich, but I would definitely eat that as well. Coach, loved having you on. Before I get you out of here and let you get back to what you're doing, is there anything else you would like to say to close us out?
Yeah. I just really do want to say thank you again to not only you, but the Huntington and Marshall community and the whole tri-state area. Honestly, everybody has been so welcoming and so supportive of women's basketball and brings a lot of enthusiasm. We are obviously here to make sure that our women have a great experience on the court and off the court. And there's been so many people that have helped us do that already. So a giant thank you to everybody and especially Russ, what you guys do for Marshall.
Thanks. KD and I have, it's been a labor of love because we really do love what we do. We love promoting things, informing the fans and stuff, but it's you guys putting out the great content for us to go and watch and talk about that we really enjoy. So thank you as well. With that, guys, we're going to sign off. So as I always say, whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Jack, or whether you see us at the Cam for either $75 or $30, whatever you see us with season seats watching this program, no matter what no matter where we're at, we'll always be saying, go Herd.